Have you ever felt that quiet uneasiness when you hear about a virus on the news and wonder what it really means for you? A patient of mine once shared that the hardest part was not the illness itself, but the uncertainty that comes from hearing the words, "no vaccine yet." I want you to imagine this for a moment. You are sitting comfortably at home, seeking understanding, not alarm, clarity, not pressure. I am Dr. Evelyn Carter, and I have spent many years caring for older adults who value calm explanations and steady routines. Today, I want to talk with you about the Nipah virus and why scientists still cannot create vaccines for it, not because danger is approaching, but because understanding helps the body and mind stay grounded. When we know what is happening and why, we breathe a little easier. Nipah virus is a rare virus that appears in medical discussions from time to time, often without much context. That lack of context is what creates worry. Many people ask why there is no vaccine yet, and whether that means something has gone wrong. From a medical standpoint, the truth is quieter than the headlines suggest. Vaccine development for rare viruses moves slowly on purpose. Scientists take extra care because they are protecting lives, especially older bodies that deserve patience and respect. In my years of practice, I have seen how the brain responds to fear compared to understanding. The brain, especially an aging brain, feels safest with gentle information and familiar rhythms. Rushed conclusions and alarming language do far more harm than good. Careful science is not failure, it is protection. In the next part, I will help you understand how vaccine research really works and why progress can take time without putting you at risk. If this conversation already feels reassuring, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Health Daily. Your support allows us to keep creating calm, trustworthy health guidance made especially for you. When people hear the word vaccine, it is natural to imagine a clear solution arriving quickly, almost like a switch being turned on. In everyday medical care, especially with older adults, I have learned that the body rarely works that way. The immune system, particularly an aging immune system, is thoughtful, layered, and deeply personal. It remembers past infections, responds more slowly than it once did, and needs extra care, osteo, when being guided to recognize something new. This is one of the reasons vaccines cannot always be created quickly, especially for rare viruses like Nipah virus. A vaccine must teach the immune system how to recognize a threat without overwhelming it. For a younger body, that lesson may be absorbed more easily. For an older body, the same lesson must be delivered gently, patiently, and with great precision. Scientists know this, and it shapes every decision they make. In my clinical work, I often explain the immune system as a lifelong journal. Every illness, every recovery, every medication leaves a note behind. When researchers design a vaccine, they are not writing on a blank page. They are adding a new chapter to a very full book. If that chapter is rushed or poorly written, it can cause confusion instead of protection. That is why time matters so much. With Nipah virus, the challenge grows because cases are rare and unpredictable. Researchers do not have the steady stream of data they would need to test vaccines quickly and safely. They cannot simply guess how an older immune system might respond. They must observe carefully, test slowly, and confirm repeatedly. This is not hesitation. It is respect for the human body. I have sat with many older patients who felt uneasy hearing that a vaccine does not yet exist. What helped them most was understanding that caution is a form of care. Science slows down when the stakes are high, especially for seniors whose immune systems deserve protection, not pressure. A delayed vaccine does not mean science has failed. It means science is listening closely. This careful pace also protects emotional health. Fear activates stress responses that weaken immunity and disturb sleep, memory, and routine. Calm understanding does the opposite. When seniors feel informed rather than alarmed, their bodies stay steadier. That steadiness matters more than most people realize. This is the foundation of everything that follows in our discussion. Vaccine development is not a race. It is a long conversation between science and the body, and for older adults, that conversation must always be respectful, patient, and safe. When people hear about a virus, it is easy to assume that all viruses behave in similar ways. In my years of caring for older adults, I have found that this assumption often leads to confusion and unnecessary worry. Nipah virus is different from many of the viruses we hear about regularly, and that difference is one of the key reasons it is so difficult to study and prepare for. Most common viruses follow patterns that doctors and scientists can observe again and again. They appear seasonally, spread in familiar ways, and affect large numbers of people over time. This consistency allows researchers to gather information steadily. Nipah virus does not offer that kind of predictability. It appears rarely, sometimes years apart, and often in small clusters that are difficult to study closely. For science, inconsistency creates uncertainty. I often explain this to patients by comparing it to learning a routine. When something happens every day, the body and mind adapt quickly. When something appears without warning and then disappears for long periods, it becomes much harder to understand. Nipah virus behaves more like an unexpected visitor than a regular presence. That makes planning a response far more complex. Another important difference is instability. Nipah virus does not always act the same way from one situation to another. It can affect people differently depending on exposure, environment, and overall health. For older adults, this variability matters deeply. A virus that behaves unpredictably makes it difficult to design a vaccine that is both effective and gentle on aging immune systems. In dementia care, we pay close attention to consistency because the brain feels safest with familiar patterns. The same principle applies to medical research. Scientists need stable information to build safe solutions. When a virus does not provide that stability, researchers must move carefully and slowly. This protects people, especially seniors whose bodies do not tolerate surprises well. Many of my patients have told me that hearing about rare viruses feels unsettling simply because they sound unknown. What helps most is remembering that rarity also means limited exposure. Nipah virus is not something older adults encounter in daily life. The challenge for science lies in studying it responsibly, not in managing widespread risk. Understanding this difference allows seniors to stay grounded. The absence of a vaccine is not because the virus is overwhelming. It is because the virus is uncommon and unpredictable. Science responds best to patience, observation, and time. That steady approach honors both physical health and emotional safety, which are essential for maintaining dignity and peace as we age. When scientists evaluate risk, they are not asking how quickly they can act. They are asking how carefully they must proceed. This is an important distinction, especially for older adults who understand from life experience that wise decisions are rarely rushed. In medical research, moving slowly is often a sign of respect, not hesitation. Risk evaluation begins with one central question: will this intervention protect more than it could possibly harm? For vaccines, that question becomes even more serious. A vaccine is given to healthy people with the goal of keeping them well. That means the margin for error must be extremely small. Scientists must be confident not only that a vaccine works, but that it does not place unnecessary strain on the body, especially an aging one. In my practice, I have seen how older immune systems respond differently to medications and treatments. What feels mild to one person can feel overwhelming to another. Scientists account for this by testing gradually and observing closely. They watch how the immune system reacts, how long protection lasts, and whether any unexpected responses appear over time. These observations cannot be rushed. The body needs time to reveal its true response. With Nipah virus, this careful process becomes even more essential. Because the virus is rare and unpredictable, scientists do not have frequent opportunities to study how a vaccine behaves across different age groups. Each step forward requires confirmation, patience, and repetition. This is not a lack of skill. It is an expression of responsibility. I often explain to my patients that science is similar to caregiving. When caring for someone with memory loss or physical frailty, rushing creates mistakes. Slowing down allows you to notice small changes that matter. Scientists work the same way. They pay attention to details that might seem invisible at first, but could have long-term consequences. Many seniors tell me they feel uneasy when they hear that progress is slow. What brings reassurance is understanding why. Caution protects dignity. It prevents harm. It ensures that when a vaccine is finally offered, it is safe for people who depend on stability and routine. Slow progress does not mean science is behind. It means science is doing its job. By choosing patience over speed, researchers honor the complexity of the human body and the value of every life, especially those that have already lived many seasons. In caring for older adults, especially those living with memory changes, I have learned that information itself can become a stressor when it arrives too quickly. The brain at any age needs time to process new ideas, but an aging brain depends even more on pacing and familiarity. When health news moves fast and changes often, it can quietly overwhelm the mind. This is especially true in dementia care. Sudden updates, urgent language, or repeated exposure to uncertain medical news can disrupt emotional balance. I have seen patients become more anxious, less focused, and even physically unsettled after absorbing too much information at once. Their routines are interrupted, sleep becomes lighter, and trust in their own understanding begins to fade. None of this supports good health. Routine provides a sense of safety that the brain relies on. Familiar patterns tell the nervous system that it is not under threat. When seniors wake up at the same time, eat familiar meals, and hear calm explanations from trusted voices, their bodies respond with steadiness. Memory functions better in an environment that feels predictable. Emotional regulation improves when the mind is not constantly adjusting to new concerns. When we talk about Nipah virus and vaccine development, this principle matters deeply. Information should be shared slowly and thoughtfully. Repetition and reassurance are far more helpful than urgency. Seniors do not benefit from being flooded with updates that do not affect their daily lives. They benefit from understanding what truly matters and what does not require immediate attention. In my experience, the healthiest older adults are those who protect their mental space as carefully as they protect their physical bodies. They choose calm sources of information and allow time for reflection. This approach preserves dignity and confidence even when topics feel unfamiliar. Science mirrors the same respect for pacing. Just as caregivers move slowly to avoid confusion, researchers move carefully to avoid harm. Both understand that rushing creates instability. When we allow routine and familiarity to guide us, we create an environment where both the body and mind can function at their best. This is why slow, thoughtful communication is not only kind, but medically sound. It honors the way the aging brain works and supports long-term emotional safety. One of the most common questions I hear from patients is simple and honest. Is there a vaccine for Nipah virus? Behind that question is usually a deeper concern. If there is no vaccine, does that mean we are unprotected or being overlooked? I understand that feeling well, especially among older adults who have lived through many changes in medicine. The truthful answer is that there is not yet a widely available vaccine for Nipah virus. What is important to understand is what the word "yet" truly means. Research is not absent. It is ongoing, careful, and often quiet. Unlike conditions that affect millions of people each year, Nipah virus appears rarely. Because of this, research does not move in the public eye. It happens in controlled settings, guided by observation rather than urgency. Scientists work through a series of thoughtful steps. They study how the virus behaves, how the immune system recognizes it, and how protection might be created without causing strain. Each step builds on the one before it. Nothing is skipped, nothing is rushed. This is especially important when considering older immune systems that respond best to gentle guidance rather than force. In my practice, I have seen the harm that comes from assuming silence means inaction. Many important advances in medicine happen quietly over long periods of time. They are not announced daily because they are still being shaped, tested, and refined. When research teams do not yet have answers they fully trust, they choose patience over publicity. For seniors, this quiet progress is actually reassuring. It means that scientists are not releasing something unfinished. They are waiting until they can offer protection that is safe and reliable for people at every stage of life. That includes those whose bodies need extra consideration. Asking whether a vaccine exists is a natural response to uncertainty. Understanding the research process transforms that uncertainty into trust. Progress does not always arrive with headlines. Sometimes it arrives through steady work, careful observation, and respect for the human body. That kind of progress may be slow, but it is the kind that lasts. As we continue this conversation, I want to pause gently and acknowledge something important. Understanding health topics like Nipah virus and vaccine research is not easy, especially when information outside this space can feel rushed or confusing. Choosing to sit with calm explanations is an act of care for yourself. I see that choice often in my patients, and it tells me a great deal about their strength and wisdom. Many older adults have shared with me that they sometimes feel left behind by fast-moving medical news. They worry that if they do not keep up, they might miss something vital. What I reassure them of is this: you do not need to chase every update to stay healthy. What matters most is understanding the basics clearly and trusting reliable guidance. That trust allows the body and mind to stay settled. This is why conversations like this one matter. They are not meant to alarm or overwhelm. They are meant to create a steady place where questions can be answered without pressure. When we slow down and focus on what is truly relevant, the nervous system relaxes, memory improves, sleep comes easier. These changes support health in ways that are just as important as in any medical intervention. I often think of health education as a form of companionship. It works best when it feels supportive rather than demanding. When information is offered with patience, seniors are more likely to absorb it and feel confident applying it to their lives. That confidence protects dignity and emotional safety. I'm Dr. Evelyn Carter from Senior Health Daily. If this video has helped you better understand your health, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing Senior Health Daily. Your support truly encourages us to continue creating calm, helpful, and trustworthy health content made especially for you. Your presence here tells me that you value understanding over fear and steadiness over urgency. That choice matters. It shapes how your body responds to stress and how your mind processes new information. Staying connected to calm sources of health guidance is one of the most practical forms of self-care available. As we continue exploring this topic, remember that you are not alone in these questions. Many people your age share them quietly. Taking the time to listen, reflect, and stay engaged in a thoughtful way supports not only your physical health, but also your sense of peace and control. When the topic of prevention comes up, many older adults worry that it means they must change how they live or become constantly alert. I want to ease that concern right away. Prevention in this context is not about disruption. It is about reassurance. For most seniors, there is no need to alter daily routines or adopt new habits out of concern for Nipah virus. In my experience, the healthiest outcomes come from maintaining stability. Regular meals, familiar activities, gentle movement, and consistent sleep are far more protective for the body than sudden lifestyle changes driven by worry. The immune system functions best when stress is low and routines are steady. This is especially true for aging bodies that thrive on predictability. Medical prevention also extends beyond individual actions. Many people forget that strong health systems work quietly in the background. Surveillance, research coordination, and medical communication are constantly in place to monitor rare viruses. Older adults are not expected to manage these risks on their own. That responsibility belongs to trained professionals who are equipped to respond if needed. I often tell my patients that trust in the healthcare system is part of preventive care. When you trust that doctors, hospitals, and public health experts are watching carefully, you can focus on living your life fully. This trust reduces anxiety, which in turn supports heart health, memory, and immune function. For seniors, prevention also means protecting emotional well-being. Constant worry weakens the body over time. Calm awareness strengthens it. Choosing reliable sources of information and limiting exposure to alarming news helps preserve mental clarity and peace. Nothing about Nipah virus requires vigilance in daily life for older adults. There is no special behavior to adopt or routine to abandon. Staying connected to primary care providers, following general health guidance, and maintaining familiar patterns are enough. Prevention, at its core, is about allowing life to continue without interruption. It is about confidence in the systems designed to protect you and faith in your body's ability to remain resilient when supported by calm and care. When people hear about emerging viruses, the word emerging itself can sound unsettling. It suggests something new and unfamiliar, which often leads the mind to assume urgency. In my years of medical practice, I have learned that not every new or emerging virus requires an immediate or dramatic response. Understanding this difference helps older adults stay grounded and emotionally safe. Many emerging viruses are identified because scientists are now better at detecting them, not because they suddenly pose a greater threat. Advances in technology allow researchers to notice viruses that may have existed quietly for years. This increased awareness is a sign of progress in medicine, not a signal of danger. Nipah virus belongs to a group of viruses that appear infrequently and in very specific circumstances. It does not spread easily in everyday settings, and it does not circulate widely in the general population. This places it in a very different category from viruses that cause seasonal illness or widespread outbreaks. Those more common viruses demand rapid public responses because they affect daily life. Nipah virus does not. I often explain this to patients by comparing it to rare medical conditions that are closely monitored but seldom encountered. Doctors remain informed and prepared without asking patients to live in constant alert. This balanced approach protects both physical and mental health. For seniors, the distinction matters deeply. Urgent reactions create stress, and chronic stress undermines immunity, sleep, and memory. Calm awareness allows the body to stay regulated. When a virus does not pose a daily risk, the healthiest response is measured understanding rather than heightened concern. Science prioritizes resources based on impact. Emerging viruses like Nipah are studied carefully, but they do not override attention to more common health issues that affect older adults every day. This does not mean they are ignored. It means they are placed in proper context. By understanding how Nipah virus compares to other emerging viruses, seniors can feel reassured. Not every medical headline requires personal action. Some require only awareness and trust. That trust allows life to continue with dignity and peace, supported by systems designed to respond when true urgency arises. As a physician, I have learned that emotional health is inseparable from physical health, especially as we age. Prolonged worry does not stay in the mind alone. It travels through the body quietly and steadily, influencing memory, sleep, and the heart in ways many people do not immediately notice. When older adults remain anxious for long periods, the brain shifts into a state of constant alert. This makes it harder to store new memories and retrieve familiar ones. I have seen patients become frustrated with themselves, believing their memory is failing, when in truth, their minds are simply exhausted from worry. Once the anxiety eases, clarity often returns. Sleep is often the first routine to suffer. Persistent concern keeps the nervous system active when it should be resting. Light sleep, frequent waking, and early morning fatigue become common. Over time, poor sleep weakens immune response and affects balance, mood, and concentration. These changes increase vulnerability, not because of illness, but because the body has not been allowed to restore itself. The heart is also sensitive to long-term stress. Anxiety raises heart rate and blood pressure. placing unnecessary strain on a system that benefits from calm rhythms. For seniors, this strain can quietly contribute to cardiovascular challenges. What many people do not realize is that reducing worry can be as protective for the heart as medication or diet. In my caregiving experience, reassurance has powerful physiological effects. When patients feel safe, heard, and informed, their breathing slows, muscles relax, and blood pressure often improves. Emotional calm becomes a form of preventive care. Understanding this connection helps place topics like Nipah virus in perspective. When worry exceeds relevance, it does more harm than good. Choosing calm information and measured understanding supports the body's natural balance. For older adults, protecting emotional well-being is not optional. It is essential. By reducing unnecessary anxiety, you support memory, improve sleep, and give your heart the steady environment it needs to function well. That kind of care honors both longevity and quality of life. As we come to the end of this deeper explanation, I want to return to a simple truth that has guided my work for many years. Science does its best work when it is not driven by fear. It works best when it is allowed the time and space to observe carefully, to question honestly, and to protect people at every step. In caring for older adults, I have seen what happens when decisions are rushed. The body reacts with stress, the mind loses confidence, and trust begins to erode. The same is true in medical research. When fear pushes for speed, safety is often compromised. When patience leads the way, outcomes are more reliable and lasting. Nipah virus research reflects this principle clearly. Scientists are not delaying progress because they are unable to act. They are choosing to move thoughtfully because the consequences of rushing are too great. This approach honors human life, especially the lives of seniors whose bodies deserve careful consideration. Trusting science means trusting its pace. It means understanding that silence does not equal neglect and that slow progress often signals deep responsibility. Many of the medical advances we now take for granted came from years of quiet work that unfolded far from public attention. For older adults, this perspective offers peace. You do not need to carry the burden of urgency. Systems are in place, professionals are watching, and research continues steadily. Your role is not to worry, but to live fully within your routine, supported by reliable care and calm information. When fear is removed from the equation, science can listen to the body more clearly. That clarity leads to safer outcomes and stronger trust. Holding on to this understanding protects emotional well-being and preserves dignity. It allows you to rest in the knowledge that progress is happening in the way it should, guided by care rather than pressure. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to thank you for staying with me and for listening with such care. Choosing to understand rather than worry is not always easy, and yet it is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. Learning about Nipah virus vaccine development does not mean that your life needs to change or that concern should enter your daily routine. It simply means you are informed, and information, when offered gently, is meant to support peace. What matters most as we grow older is stability. Familiar mornings, trusted habits, steady meals, and moments of rest give the body and mind a sense of safety. Your body has carried you through many years, adapting again and again. It deserves patience and gratitude, not pressure. Modern medicine works quietly in the background, guided by care, research, and responsibility. You do not need to carry that work on your shoulders. I have seen again and again how the body responds when trust replaces fear. Breathing softens, sleep deepens. The heart finds a steadier rhythm. Knowledge should never feel like a burden. It should feel like reassurance that you are not alone and that thoughtful systems are in place to protect you. If this conversation brought you a sense of calm or clarity, I invite you to stay connected with us. Senior Health Daily is meant to be a place you can return to when health information feels overwhelming and you simply want understanding delivered with kindness. Thank you for allowing me to spend this time with you. Take a gentle breath, return to your routine, and remember that caring for your health also means caring for your peace.